But Monica, oh my God, she's doing cool stuff. I got distracted by her comment right at the last second.
I just barely saw it.
I know. I was like, girl, Monica starting the show with me being interested. I ran all over freaking town to get this thing. So I'm just like, I don't even like drinking this, but I want it. Anyway.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so happy y'all are with us for book club.
Yay. I feel like it was a really long break between them this time. I don't know why.
It was. I feel like it was because I think we did them earlier, like we had stuff happening or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it does feel like it was a lot longer this time.
Like, I think too, like February is a short month, I guess. So between February and March, I don't know. Maybe that felt short. It's probably just we've had a lot of life stuff going on too.
Justin,
yes.
I'm excited you're here.
I know. I told him it's not book club without Justin.
It's not. I saw that. It just wouldn't be the same. I love Justin's point of view.
He puts up with all of us crazy women.
I know. He's always like so level-headed, and I'm like, but the romance.
I know. About the romance. Hello, my friend. Just got off work. Cool.
Hello.
Oh, what's happening YouTube? Could be weird.
I'm going through these real fast. Hello. I literally just barely finished the book. Once again, just barely. I do that all the time, I swear. Sorry.
Well, I only finished it last night, so I put this one off too long. So then last night I was like chugging through it there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Happy to have you here, Holly.
Yeah.
Hi, Lexi. Hello.
Well, Holly, maybe you'll learn whether you want to read it or not. That's always a good reason too. I do that. Ooh, Fluffy Chick. I like that screen name.
I do too. I've never seen your screen name here before. Welcome.
Yeah. Hello. Got some noobs.
Well, should we talk a little bit about what we're reading now before we jump in, or should we just jump in?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Give people a couple minutes.
Yeah.
We've gotten bigger, so well, I was just telling Crystal that I was crying a bunch because I'm listening to a book by Lydia Michaels. It's actually already out, but I'm listening to a reviewer code for it because the audiobooks are being promoted, and it's called Wake My Heart, and it's a young widow and this hero who's her neighbor that's trying to get her to give him a chance. And so I'm just crying so much. Also because the performance is so good, like that, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna rate it 4 stars because it's not fun.
Oh yeah.
But the performance is so good. But anyway, so I'm reading that, and then I'm also halfway done with 5 Rounds by Nikki Castle, which I am finishing tonight. I am finishing that freaking book tonight.
How do you like that one? I was going to try and read that for whenever they did the book club, but
I like it because they're both athletes and that they're both fighters, and they have to live together for a certain amount of time. So it's like hate to love, but they also have a respect for each other because of their athletic ability. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I started it right when I got Brutal Vows. So then it got put to the side, and then I had other things I had to get. So it's just gotten pushed off when there's nothing wrong with it. I'm having a good time. Too much. So.
Me too, Amanda. Unless it goes too far, like the last book that I talked about.
And I've read other books in this series because I read the arcs of the ebook. This is the audiobook, and that one was fun and it was more lighthearted. So this one's just the topic it's tough because it's very well written, but a good cry. It's a good cry. I was saying, I was reading it. There's these tears that were kind of constant, but I wasn't I was just it's so good. Anyway, yes, the puppy.
She's Good. She's wonderful. She's so sweet. I mean, she does have her moments of puppy craziness, but this is the fourth dog of this breed that I've had, and they've all been so different, you know? So she's a ton of fun. She's in her crate right now, so if I have, maybe at the end before we leave, I'll get her out and show her so y'all can see her on camera. But thanks for asking. Let's see.
Yes.
Linda, hello.
Linda. First, Beverly.
First. You picked a good one, right? Okay. Shall we get started?
Sure.
Oh, I didn't say I'm not reading anything really at the moment. I have several books that I'm like starting in the middle of, but nothing that I'm like, I just barely finished this. So
yes.
Okay.
Crystal has to get caught up on the other book club before she gets too far behind on it.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, the Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah, those will go quick though.
Yeah, they will.
Excited.
All right. So let's go ahead and do star ratings. Should we do that?
Sure.
Go ahead and leave your star rating in the comments, and we'll all talk about that. Yeah.
You want to? You want to go? Go ahead.
Okay, so I feel like there's so much that I love about Beverly Jenkins' books and that I love about her writing. It just feels like very comforting to me and just so immersive, and I just really, really enjoy it. So I almost always end up giving her books 5 stars, and I gave this one 5 stars too, but I feel like that's largely tempered by just like the warm, sunshiny feelings I have about her. So if this wasn't an author that didn't like mean so much to me in that way, it would probably be a 4.5, because I did have just a few tiny nitpicks. But like I said, like this is an author, this is a book I don't really want to nitpick, but I could if I wanted. Okay.
Yeah. Nope, I'm with the vast majority of everyone. It's 4 stars for me. Yeah. It was everything you said. It was perfectly pleasant. It's just the level of pleasant that's not a 5-star for me. Like I will forget this story pretty quickly. There were elements of it that have a lot of Western things that I like, but there was just all of those things thrown in, and eventually I was like, things would happen that were resolved very quickly. Like what was the last 10 pages of this book? The last 10 pages of this book where people are being shot and killed and put in jail in the last 10 pages of it. Like her father gets killed and there's hardly any grieving about it. It just happens. It's over. And like all of those things where I'm like, wow. And her author's note, she's like, I really wanted to do a shoot 'em up. This is what I want to show. And I was like, I respect that. I respect it. But also those parts of it, I wanted more time put into it instead of this huge chunk that's our wagon train that didn't really advance the plot, in my opinion, at all. Like, and then the stuff where they're like, you know, the problems in the town, which was very interesting, were just getting sped through very rapidly. There would be like, oh, women can't work at this place. Oh, I can't work here because I'm woman and colored, and like all this back and forth. I'm like, which one? Like which one is our plot here? But none of it was unenjoyable. None of it had me upset. I was just like, okay, Beth, pick the point for. I don't know what's happening.
So like I completely agree. And the thing about the ending with this one, like I feel like that happens so often in her books. She does that a lot, where she has a really rushed ending where she kind of throws a lot of stuff in there plot wise and not romance wise. Like there was a comment in here, where was it, that said the ending was, oh yeah, Lexi said the ending was justice more than romance, and that's true. Like the ending of this one was very much more like,
it was the end of a film. Like that's a great way to describe it. It was the end of a Western, and they're riding home, and she's like, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant, and it's over. I was like, oh, okay. So that's a great way to say it, Lexi.
Yeah, I like that. Pausing plot for history lesson.
Yes, yeah.
That's true, Justin. I don't. That's something that I don't love too. Is that a lot of times the romance is resolved way before the book ends, and then you just have plot stuff that maybe wasn't, even if it was like alluded to earlier in the book, it wasn't made to be like the center stage. So the romance is sort of resolved, and then you have this plot that almost kind of comes out of nowhere, but I don't know. So that's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, Linda. Oh no. Loved Destiny Sword. Oh, that's
Okay,
honestly,
though.
I do also feel like even though this book has what I think are some pretty typical Beverly Jenkins
Like,
types in here, like I can't think of them off the top of my head, but it did also feel pretty different than a lot of her other books in that it did have that shoot 'em up style action movie
yeah,
type of western, and there was a lot more almost like kind of that bonkers almost type of plot, things that were happening that were kind of zany, like the whole how she was in disguise in the beginning working for a newspaper and stuff like that. But
yeah, yeah. So, and I was going to comment on the people who've read a bunch of them. So, this is only my second one. I've meant to read more of them, but this is only the second one I've got to so far. Um, and so, for me, number one, it's being held against Indigo, which is fantastic. And
yeah.
number two, I do believe that there's other of her books that will be much higher for me than this one was.
Mm-hmm.
And to go with those like history lessons, I enjoy them because I love that she puts in Black history into these, that it's like clearing the, like setting the record straight, or saying like there was a, lush history of these people in this area. So I like it for the fact that it's giving us that history, correcting certain things, or not even correcting, just making you aware of things. But I feel like they're inserted very much like that. Boom, stop. Here's 2 pages of the history, instead of, how in a lot of historical romances, there's that stuff just flowing through. Like, it just, characters that are real historical characters will pop up in a book and we'll hear about that, instead of stop. You could literally remove this whole chunk of history and it wouldn't affect what the story was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I honestly they don't bother me personally because I always feel
Yeah.
like there's something that I gain from them.
Mm-hmm.
But I do notice them, but it's not ever anything that I notice negatively,
That exactly how I said it. It like pause because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
notice it show up. Yeah, I'm not mad about them. I like learning the history. I'm a history nerd. It's a thing. It's just I feel like it's more obvious in the 2 books of hers I've read so far when we're having a history moment and when it flows into it all. So
Yeah.
not a bad thing.
They give me
Yes.
footnotes energy. That's pretty accurate for sure.
Yeah, but again, like it's a very happy 4 star. I was engaged the whole time. Um, but yeah, I don't think this couple will stick out to me after, like, I won't remember them by the end of the year. You know what I mean? Like, they're not the same as like Indigo, where like
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
remember Gallon very vividly with, without much. So yeah.
I feel like this hero he really stood out to me, but and I really liked so much about him, but there was definitely something about him that was, and maybe it is just because I'm so like attached to Galen, and I just read Rebel by her, which has Galen's family in there, and that hero gave me Galen energy like so much. So I really liked this hero. I
Oh
loved
yeah.
the way he was described. I loved their first meeting. Like I feel like she does a possessive and protective hero so well in a way that shows like, but I think that's always such an interesting thing that she does because this heroine is so typical of Bev too, someone who's really strong, really intelligent, and doesn't really want to or doesn't believe in love, doesn't think they're going to fall in love, like that. Those are tropes for her heroines
Mm-hmm.
quite often. So I liked that they were both. I like how she makes her hero very protective, very dominant, but also like the heroine is really strong too and stands up to that. So
Yeah.
I like that.
Although this one leaned a little bit more towards just being pig-headed than being strong in some aspects. Like, we'll be honest about it. I appreciate a lot of aspects of it, but she has a husband who's not trying to force her into many
Yeah.
things. There's a few things where he's like, no, that's dangerous. No, you can't do that. That's dangerous. But it's always reflecting back to what's dangerous, not because he's trying to, he's a lawman. He doesn't want her to get hurt
Yeah.
or anything. And there'd be some things where she's like, no, I have to do that. I'm like, but why? Like, how does it have any logic to me? Why? You know, but that's okay. I'm always more of like where I'm like, chick, calm down. Like I like always defer to that because I'm like, lady, calm down. I'm way harder on heroines anyway because I'm just like, he's amazing. Calm your tits, okay? Just calm down.
But you kind of like a stubborn heroine at times, though, right?
Yeah, but
Maybe
I'm
not
kind of
stubborn.
picky about them though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm kind of picky about when and why. And that's more in contemporary for me, I think, that I'm more
Yeah.
okay with it. I don't know. I can't name it, but I see it. Like there's just sometimes when I see it. And I think in situations like this, it works because it's Bev's like ideal historical. You know, she's right. We've said like she's writing it with happiness, with fantasy, to an aspect of like it's history and it's truth, but it's also the best versions of things. And like some of the choices she's making, some of the things she's doing, I was like, if you had any other husband or you were in any other town, someone would have killed you. And it's hard for me to like. So I'm okay with that when it's in Bev's book because she can do no wrong in that aspect for me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help me suspend my disbelief when I look at the heroine. I'm like, you can still show you're strong and be willing to like compromise on some things. Um, but yeah, luckily her hero hears her out, and then sometimes he uses sexual manipulation. Okay, he definitely did that quite a few times,
Yeah.
and I wasn't mad at him for it. I literally, yes, they were constantly at each other. I was messaging it in our group quite a few times. I was like, oh, now we're doing sexual manipulation. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And then then she did it back, and there was a sex strike. Okay, we'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It
I
wasn't
was
so
hoping you would like that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I was like, that's hilarious. He's like, but you're not mad at me. And she's like, I know, but everybody's got to suffer. Everyone's got to suffer. Otherwise, it won't work. And I'm like, I love that. So,
Yeah.
yep, I love it. Absolutely.
So good.
We're doing that thing where when we don't have super strong opinions, we just kind of. So,
I know.
is there anything more we want to say, like about, like, what do you want to say about the heroine? You talk about her a little bit.
Me?
Yeah.
I do feel like she was stubborn, but I mean, she's not the most stubborn heroine that I've read from her for sure. And I felt like she was pretty willing to like bend at times, even, I mean, she did have those few things where she was like, nope, this one I'm totally not. But there were other things that she did sort of seem to bend to what he wanted her to do. I did really like her independence. And I also thought that there was like the whole marriage pact at the beginning, like how they were going to get married because her dad and everything like that. I expected more of a fight from her, and I was glad that there wasn't one because then it was just sort of like that would have seemed like unnecessary. Like, we know this is the story, they have to get married. So I liked that. Overall I really liked her. She's definitely a heroine that I loved. I loved that she was tall. I loved that he liked that she was tall. Like, you never hear about a tall heroine, so I really liked that. I thought it was great.
Oh, I love it. Tall girls unite. I feel it.
Yes. And even when he would like describe how it felt to like hold her, how tall she was and how much space she took up, I was just like, this is just fabulous. Yeah.
Yes, I love that stuff. I love it too. Yes, I also loved that when the point came, she was like, why am I pretending I'm going to leave? Like, she says it to herself. She's like, why am I pretending I'm going to leave? I'm not going to leave. But she also just wasn't sure whether he like loved her or not, because this is one thing I didn't love about Dix. I don't love a hero who's like, I'm not going to love her. Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like that. Like, he had many wonderful qualities, but especially because of how like loving and caring he was, I'm like, why are you saying you can't love anybody? Like, he hasn't even had anything that really broke him of love. Like, I don't remember anything. You know, like, he isn't someone that like, I loved a wife and she died, or I love this person and she died. He was just like, I'm not going to love her. Loving's not a thing, but she can't leave. I'm going to make sure she doesn't want to leave. So I don't know, like that can be seen as, I know we've had heroes before where we've said like, yeah, but his intention was that's what love is. But for him, I was kind of like, why is it in his character that
Mhm.
he isn't gonna love her? I don't know. It was weird. It just seemed inconsistent with some.
It did, and it was also, I feel like, a bit of a departure from her because it's usually, not always obviously, but a lot of the times it's the hero is like, this woman, I love her, she's mine, and she's like, no, I don't believe in love, you know. So it was interesting that that she actually was the one who, you know,
Yeah,
admitted or that she loved him first. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I wonder, because this is a really like early one for her though, because
yeah,
it isn't the first, but it's in the first few.
that's true.
I thought we had looked that up. So it could be, she tried different things and then was like, nah, I want the hero to be obsessed with it. Because this was 97, right?
97, yeah.
Yeah, 97. And I think we talked about more that there's only a couple that were before this one. Because in my book, it doesn't have any of her other books listed at all. So that's why I didn't know how early this was. I feel like we talked about this last month too, because I was like, how old is this book? But anyway, my point being, she maybe hadn't decided, but I go ahead. Sorry, I'm like talking.
No, no, go ahead.
I wanted to comment on the comment you had up for like 5 minutes.
Okay,
I was
let's do
distracted
it.
with. I agree, Justin. That's basically all I wanted to say. I did like that. I like that they both had ways to kind of manipulate the other one a little
Mhm.
bit, and they were just very fun with each other. Someone else said that too. This is one of her funniest books. Stacy says that. I think it was very funny too for all the drama that happened. And I feel like it really does fit into that like shoot 'em up category as well, because there are so many times where like, yeah, the Deweys are trying to get them. And there's that one point where Dix is like, are you kidding me again? Like
Yeah,
they're like sleeping in the guy's birthday. And he's like, are you really doing this again? Like, what's happening? So, that was kind of funny. So
Marta had a comment. Let's see, was it this one? Yeah. This book does honestly feel a bit forgettable, as enjoyable as it
yeah.
was. I think that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fun time. I was
Hmm.
and like, yeah. They were both very sexy. He was extremely wonderful. Like, love that.
Hmm.
But because I think for me, because it was a like, oh yeah, I'm admitting I love you on the like at the last moment kind of thing. I'm not as enamored with him, even though he has these great qualities. Like, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with him. He was respectful. He was patient with her. He really was making it be a good time for her. But he also wasn't as like, I don't know, as I like. So there's the thing. But I liked reading her falling in love in a small town. Yes. Yeah. It was a fun town. Um, Also, though, I did love that when his maid was keeping them apart, he was like, "You're fired." It's like, what? Why? Because we didn't want separate rooms, you stupid lady. I was like, yes. I love that that wasn't a thing where like they didn't, but like he didn't believe her or anything.
I
He's like,
loved
she
that
did
too.
what?
Yeah.
That was great.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was really fun. Give and take between them. Yeah. So, what if we talk about some of the troublemakers? Maybe we'll do that because there's a lot of troublemakers in this book. Like
Yeah.
between her fake fiance guy and her dad causing problems. And like I said, that was a bit of an issue for me that like her dad's dead and like there's one paragraph about her like crying about him.
Hmm.
And then though like she leaves her Topaz for this baby, but like not for her dad. Like I was just very like, why was this Topaz that is literally what the book is called, this connection between her and Dick, she just put in the ground. Like it was a very touching moment. I mean, like me, like loss of children is tough for me. About like, why are you leaving this for this child that we don't know and not like saving it for your own child or for like, I don't know. These are some questions that I had. Yes.
It was. Yeah.
I was like, what? because it was so random. Like I was listening to this while I was doing something. I was like, she did what? And I like grabbed the book. I was like, why? Why did you do that? I don't understand. I don't understand what the symbol of it was. But yeah, her dad, man.
Oh, her dad.
Yeah. So what do we think about the troublemakers, everybody?
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like I wish there hadn't been so many of them, you know, like I feel like this book has so much like external stuff happening that
Right.
there's not a ton happening internally with the two of them. And I know that like she really shines with that internal stuff, you know, and it just seemed
Mm-hmm.
like I kept wanting a little bit more of that, and then it was just like more mayhem would happen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Her and Dix don't really have a conflict past her agreeing
Yeah,
to marry him and then him taking his time like wooing her to the sex part of it. Like he's wooing her to the sex part of it. But because he's not expecting her to love him, I don't feel like he woos her to love him. I think she just is in love with him by the end. You know, not that he isn't lovable, but I just feel like where were those like you know, moment of him like trying to save her dad, even though her dad has done all these things. Maybe he tries to save her dad for her, you know, and then it doesn't work, or I don't know.
yeah,
So
I totally agree with all of that. Yeah. I do like this comment. It was hard to figure out who the villain of the story was because there were so many. It made it confusing. And that's where I feel like I don't really want to like use the word plot with this because it's not really
yeah,
I don't feel like there's a strong plot in here. There's just a lot of unconnected events, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's I had thought this when I was reading. It was really kind of like a like year in their life kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was their, you know, 6 months on the wagon train, 6 months there. By the end of it, they're gonna have a baby and their future set for sure. She's staying for sure.
Mhm.
But also it wasn't really in question to me after like the halfway mark that she would ever leave. Not that I would think she'd leave because it's a romance novel, but I feel like there should have maybe been some anxiousness. Like maybe if her not getting hired at the paper, it would be like, well, I need to go back then because I'm not getting anything here. And like
Yeah,
there was no threat of anything, even though I don't know. So yeah, so that's why it's hard. Why it was like again, it's completely enjoyable.
yeah,
It's just also there. It's missing that like what gives it the grit and
mm,
like. But also sometimes it's nice to read a book that isn't super angsty. So that's why I'm like it's fun. I don't
yeah.
always need to be super angstified.
I just feel like I like I do wish a lot of the middle of this had it really felt like Justin's comment here.
Yep.
The start of the book is definitely the strongest. Like everything about that I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just so good. And then it really just sort of like goes from up here to like here and you just
Yeah.
stay right there. And then you have all these things happening and it's just sort of like it definitely felt like there was so much going great in the beginning, and then it really just leveled off, and there
Yeah.
wasn't really anything compelling you to pick the book up. Like this book took me. I am in a bit of a weird reading mood right now. But this book took me quite a while to read, and I listened to the audio, and I think that's largely because there wasn't necessarily anything past that beginning, which I was so invested in, that was
Mm-hmm.
compelling me to keep picking it up. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, as I'm talking, I guess this is probably a 4-star read for me and not a 5-star because I definitely have some issues with it.
You can rate Bev a 5, and we won't call you out on it.
I probably will because I still like, even though when you're saying like it feels like a year in their life, like I love that. Like I love the way she
Yes.
talks about food. I love just seeing them living their life. The
Yep.
people in the town, like
Same.
it's just
Same.
wonderful. You
I
know?
mean, Little House on the Prairie is my favorite series for so years. And literally all of that is like canning and bringing in stuff and killing an animal for winter. Like I'm fine with it. It's
Yeah,
just I agree with what also Justin said. It's a low risk story, and again, the only other Beverly I have to compare to is Indigo, where that
Very
has
high.
very
Yeah.
high risk the whole time. Like, is she gonna get caught doing this? Is she gonna go to prison? Like, is she gonna let him convince her to love him? You know, like there's a very high risk with that, and this
Yeah.
is just a different story. It just is.
Yeah.
So
Like, even though you have all of these like villains or villainous, troublemakers, like you're never really worried at all. Like there's the stakes are just so low, It's just
they're
like
also incompetent. Yeah,
yeah.
they're very incompetent. That's why, like, the Three Stooges comment, that's exactly what I was vibing with as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so
Dick's in Night Song. Have you read Night Song, Crystal?
I have, but I don't remember side characters in that. So
Because I was going to ask if this one, I mean, I'm sure this one is connected with others, but I was going to ask it, this one isn't in a series, right? This one is a standalone?
no, this is a
Okay.
standalone.
It's not in one of the families or anything?
Mm-mm. I mean, they may show up. Like, honestly, almost every single one of her books has characters from other families and other books that show up in there, but
Yeah, I just didn't know. Okay, Elle Bella. I see Night Song is the first. I thought I knew that. Night Song is the first.
it is.
I have a copy of the Night Song, but I haven't read that one. So, I was gonna say something else about that. Yeah, because it kind of felt like the other deputies that were mentioned would be people who are in books, like the Six Killer was his name, Six Killer, and someone else. Like, they sounded like characters who would be in other stories. So
Yeah.
it's your fourth book. Okay, so still pretty early. $4.95.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Stacey, I probably would have if I didn't wait so long to read it. This was one that I had quite a few, like, that I had to get read, and then it was all of a sudden Tuesday, and I was like, oh crap, I need to start this one. And I think if I wouldn't have started it with only like a couple days to go, this one could have taken me a long time to read, because I listened to the first 6 chapters and I was like rapt attention the whole time, and then once we got on the wagon train, like, I was like, oh, okay. And that was a good part of the book.
It was.
I was like, nothing's happening.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I need to read Vivid. Look at this. Vivid was her second book. I'm really curious about that. It surprises me that Indigo was third. I feel like Indigo is just such a powerfully Justin, plug your ears. Justin rated Indigo 3 stars, I think.
Yes, we know. We gave this one 4 stars.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to drag you, Justin.
You need to change your scale, okay? Okay. I think too, though, that could also explain, like, that was a really heavy book to write, Indigo.
Yeah, true.
Like,
very true.
Because out there, and she's like, my dad just really loved Western, so I just wanted to tell a fun Western. And it's like, that was probably a nice, relaxing story after, like, Indigo.
And honestly, I always feel like I don't like Westerns. Like, I don't want to read Westerns unless it's Beverly Jenkins or maybe Lorraine Heath. Like, those are the only two, like.
I'll slowly keep popping those in here now and then. So I don't read enough Westerns either. I used to read a lot more of them.
Yeah.
But I own so many. I need to read more of them because there's some fun ones in there. I like the thing I love about a Western, just to throw, a lot of times it's very forced proximity because it's like a mail order bride situation, or it's there's one woman in the area situation, or got kidnapped by an outlaw and then rescued by so I love forced proximity in almost any situation.
It's almost unbeatable. Yeah.
So because it goes with everything. If it's an arranged marriage, that's forced proximity. If it's like, we got locked in a cabin, forced proximity. If it's only the two of us in this vast West, like, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, were there any other aspects? I feel like this is another one that's kind of a quick one.
I know it. And yeah, I was honestly when I was first again, not to like beat a dead horse, but like the first 6 chapters, I was like, this is going to be great. We're going to have so much to discuss. And then it just kind of like so much of this book. And it felt like very long. It felt like very long, which most of her books aren't like that. But again, this was her fourth
book. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I had to speed it up quite a bit the last hour and a half because I kept waiting for it to get done. And I was like, why is it not ending? Like, nothing else has happened. Like, they're going to be together.
Yeah.
But.
So it was good. I really did enjoy it, but it's definitely not my favorite. Like, this is probably, like, Night Song is probably my least favorite by Beverly Jenkins. And this one is, like, right above it.
Okay.
But Night Song is also quite a bit, like, heavier. It has a pretty heavier.
Yeah.
Well, everybody.
I know. We're all like, well, you should go get the puppy then.
I should.
Unless
She's going to have to pee right after I get her, so.
Oh, well, guys, maybe you can't then.
I'm sorry, Mortis. So I will get her right before we say goodbye, because then I'll have to take her right out to pee.
Okay. Well, how long does a pee break take? Because I'm pretty good at vamping. I could just.
Okay. I can take her first.
Because then you won't have to rush away from everybody.
Well, let's talk for a few more minutes,
okay.
And then.
So we're doing this next month. Crystal has read this one. She had an arc of this one, I believe. Right. So
yeah, I did.
This one is the Marquis is undercover as a footman or as a. Is it a footman? What does it say?
Yeah, I think it is a footman.
It's a footman. He's undercover as a footman to try to find out about if she's stealing maps or something like that. I don't want to know too much, so I'm being very vague, everyone. Sorry.
Yeah.
But they're both half Arab, right? Or what is she?
Yeah, they are.
They both are. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the second one for the readathon. I will. I know I don't have to, but I want to. And I just never get to it. So we're going to read that. The historical romance readathon will be before we meet again. So that'll be cool.
Let's see.
Not all the readathons. Yeah,
I don't think
Crystal.
I don't think that you do. Not really.
It's the half brother or the brother of from the first book though.
Yeah. So she does show up in this book, but it's still like you're not going to be lost if you don't read their books. So.
Yeah. It's definitely more of like I think a standalone series anyway.
Yeah. You guys. I'm not even gonna say what my rating is because I really want everybody to read it and I don't want to spoil anything. But
yeah. We'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Crystal and I actually buddy read that first one together when we like barely knew each other yet.
Yeah.
Where we're like, you want to buddy read together?
And then I quickly found out that like Jen reads so much faster than me that I'm like, this just doesn't work out.
we went from reading like Sea of Ruin together.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun though. It was really fun.
It was. Yeah. You should have known that about me. You'd been following me for how long before? You know how much I read.
I still was surprised, yeah.
It's okay. I don't know.
I don't think you should be worried, Monica. It's honestly, I mean, it's going to be personal preference, really. So I liked it. I really did. So that's all I will say.
She just means like she doesn't want to sway anyone one way or the other. That's why she's not going to say anything. She's not saying I'm not going to say anything because like, oh snap, there's stuff waiting. She's read it before you. She wants you to have a chance. That's great. Whereas I don't have a poker face for those things. So that's the difference between us. Where I'm like, yeah, y'all better read this book. I got a little intense about it.
No, Candace, you're totally fine. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Because we know how different everybody is anyway. You know, like just remember Annie's song, everyone. 5 stars and 2 stars. Okay, like we're different. No, people in the chat too. There's people who hated it, and then there's those of us who love it. That's the fun of book club. We're all gonna be different. So
I feel like I always think when I have a book, when I have a reaction to a book that is so different from what like everyone else is saying, I always wonder like how different would my opinion be if I hadn't had social media and people telling me their thoughts and opinions on it,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's
so
true.
that's always, you always go into a book, no matter what or how much you hear about it, you always go into it with like an idea of what you think it's going to be about or how it's going to be for you. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it happens to me all the time in both directions. Like in both directions, I can hear something negative and be really dreading it, and it's my favorite book ever. Or
yeah,
people are hyping it up, and I'm like, why did you guys like this? This was, like that. That's our independent opinions about
yeah,
everything, and that's why there's room for everybody on BookTube, because
for sure.
nobody's gonna have the same opinion.
You know, a few days, weeks, last week or something, I asked in my Instagram stories something like, um, do you feel comfortable in the book community? And I got a lot of responses that basically said something like, if my opinion is different than what everyone else is saying, I'm hesitant to speak up or I'm kind of scared to speak up. And I'm like, I get that because I felt like that when I started BookTube. But I mean, if you're going to make content, it quickly becomes apparent that
Yeah. Oop.
you can't edit what you say or how you feel. Like there's a space for everybody's opinion, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because without fail, no matter what my opinion about a book is, there's somebody who agrees with me. Like
yeah, yeah,
I've never reviewed a single book where someone hasn't agreed with what my opinion is, whether it's a 1 star or a 6 star. Someone always agrees with me. Um,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it depends on how pissed off people are who don't agree with you, because
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
that, and that I think is what scares people. But I just try to attune myself to the people who either want to have a conversation about why we disagreed, or else they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is how I felt about it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's why what holds a lot of people back from having channels or stuff. And I'm like, there's always someone to agree with you. Like, as long as you can be like as respectful as you can, granted, we're still going to want to rant sometimes, but as long as you can be as respectful as you can about like how you give your opinion, most people are just like good with it. So,
Yeah.
but also I don't give a fuck really. So
I,
I know some people do, and I can't make people not give a fuck like me. Like,
yeah.
so
And I feel like, I mean, part of what even like tonight, for an example, like I started this off and I'm like, I really liked it, 5 stars, but like a low 5 stars. Like I feel like I'm rounding it up, you know. But still, there were aspects of it that I could be critical about, that I could say, you know, and I think that that is so valuable. You know, I feel like
right.
not very many people are able to or want to talk critically about books. You know,
Yeah.
no, I just shouldn't say not very many people, but it does seem like a lot of people don't really want to say why they didn't.
Yeah. Or they can't be like respectful about it. I think
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing, because I don't know. I know that I've ranted about some books for sure. There's been ones for me, but it's always coming from a place of passion for reading, passion for romance and for stories. So if I'm gonna go off on something, like it's because like it hurt my heart, not because I'm mad at the author for writing it. It's because like it hurt me so much because I have so many feelings. So
and I do feel like I definitely know there are some books that I have talked about, and I'm like, I don't know how anybody could like this, and I'm like, I don't know that that was the best way to say that, you know, because like everybody likes different things, but and
yeah,
even if you say a book is objectively bad, like you can't really say that because everyone's taste, there is no objective about,
right.
you
Yeah.
know, good and bad.
It's those magic words we are saying is to me,
Yeah.
you said.
Yep.
Like I've really taken that to heart when I'm explaining, because there's this, I wish I knew her name. There's this one lady on TikTok. She's an older Black woman, and she was talking about lovable trash fire, like books that she hates but still has a great time reading them. Or she's like, they're bad, honey. Like, there's books that are bad, but that doesn't mean you can't give it 5 stars. They give you a good time. And I was like, yes. I was
Yeah.
like, that's absolutely it. And that's part of the reason why I had to create 6 star for me, because like there are books that I give 5 stars to, and I'm like, that wasn't a good book, but I loved it. Like that happens all the time where I'm like, I love this. This is not a great example of story, but like I was smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
And then there's books where I'm like, okay, but I don't want to rate Viper at the same place that I rate Indigo, but they're
Yeah.
5 stars for me. They're 5 stars for very different reasons. So I need to have like a higher thing. But
I
anyway.
mean, like for sure. I will never get over my love of the Vampire Diaries, like that show. That show is trash. It's not good, but I freaking
Oh,
love it. You
yeah.
know?
Literally so trashy wonderful. Like, well, and that's where more and more now I've been calling it like telenovelas or soap
Yeah,
operas.
I noticed that and I liked that.
That
Yeah.
because I just love it. It's that high drama and the like whipping your head type of thing. That's what the
The
Mafia
gasps.
Mistress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the Mafia Mistress was to me. There was not a page without over drama, all of it, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like, it's so good. But I was like, that's not like high quality, awesome, but I loved it. So that's why I'm reading is for joy. Like we've talked about it. Yes, Candace, we agree with you for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. And I reread one of her books, Monica, and I was like, wow, this still makes me smile, but this is like not great. Like when I was rereading it, but I still gave it 5 stars on my reread too, because I smiled the whole time when I was reading it.
Right?
So.
I feel like, and there's so much value in that too, just for something that makes you feel happy. Like, why wouldn't you rate it 5 stars? You know, like,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I love that.
That's the thing that I just want to share with. Oh, thank you. That's the thing I just want to share with everybody is that like there is a huge value in making people smile and making people giggle about something. Like that's the joy I get out of a lot of monster romances I read. Like they're just so bonkers, and I'll be like, "This is so great!" Like, what kind of penis does he have? Or what?
Like I will never. I will never get over how I felt when I read The Duchess Steele during like the beginning of 2020, like March of 2020. Like I needed that book so much, and I think that book is a great book, anyways. But yeah. I mean, the reason I love that is because of how it made me feel. That it made me feel like safe, and it was an escape, and it was just so happy. And yeah, did you listen to the latest Fated Mates, the one about vampires? It's so interesting because they mention how, and maybe they've mentioned this before in another podcast, I'm not 100% caught up, but if it says vampires, like, I'm trash for vampires, okay? But they were talking about how monster romance is like the new, like the new paranormal romance in a way that it's very like escapist and that it's very like larger than life, and it takes you to this place that isn't reality, and it gives you this other like great, fabulous, wonderful feeling. The same way that paranormal romance was like after 9/11, and I just thought that's such an interesting, and honestly that like made me really consider like reading more monster romance, because I have not because I have a bad attitude about it, but just because it just doesn't appeal to me. Like just but I think I'm ready to try it. Yeah.
I think I agree with you, because there are like I'm still looking for kind of yes, honey, yes. They're super dramatic and people get slapped all the time and they kiss very aggressively. It's wonderful. Where's my brain going? Because I still am looking for specific things in my monster romance, which is why like Alien and it's very difficult. Tori and I had this discussion. Monster and Alien are basically the same thing to me, but there's like a difference between like a monster and but whatever. I'm still looking for specific things that I want in my romance in a monster one, and those are the ones that I was like, Crystal, you'll still like this one. Like I still think you'll really like this one.
I need to read that. I definitely want to. For sure.
He's your perfect hero, but with A-list. He's fantastic. But
that's gonna happen. It is. I'm gonna read it.
But that one's a commitment, because it is like it's 3 books, and then there's other ones where you can just have a smutty fun time. Yes, Amanda. So excited to read that book again.
That's another one that I will never forget how I felt when I read that the first time.
Yeah.
Like, I really love this quote, Lexi, too. That's awesome. Oh, you know what? I got a comment from someone who asked if I could please read the comments that I highlight on the screen so that they could hear them, and I totally forgot to do that. I'm
Oh,
so sorry that I have not been reading the comments that I've been highlighting. I'll definitely do that from now on. So Lexi said, this made me think of, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I love that. It's
yeah.
just fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely it, Lexi, because whether, whether it's a deeply emotional one, whether I'm rereading a classic that I love, whether I'm want some spicy werewolf smut, which another one of those comes out tonight. The next Rejected Mate books comes out tonight. It's just I love the heightened emotion and getting to get swept away. And sometimes I want it to be a really gut wrenching emotion, and sometimes I want it to be bonkers. I just want to bang a weird looking creature. Like sometimes that's just what we need to get out of our
Yep.
heads. And that's why romance is the best. That's why Bridgerton is the most watched thing on Netflix. That's why those things make so much money, because men and women of every kind know that there's joy in that. And that's just what we need. So,
That's from Maya Angelou, by the way. Forgot to say. That's what Lexi said. Yes.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to do that earlier, Precious. Thanks. You're welcome. We'll make sure to do that from now on.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't even think about it.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Okay. Well,
Well,
that was a little, therapy with us. Crystal will go get us
just, yeah. I'll go get the puppy to show you all if you all want to see her.
Yes. She's going. Here we go.
I know she does.
Yeah.
That's right.
Some people can't like only listen though, Lexi, so that happens, but she's getting us some cuteness. Sorry. But yeah. Yeah, the next Kate C. Wells book I think comes out at 11 tonight. So, oh my gosh. Look at the little puppies. Look at the puppers. They're so cute.
Look at the pup. I'll hold her up. Hold on. I gotta be able to hear you. Wait. Oh. No. Hi, baby. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yeah. She's like, why are you putting me at this?
She was asleep and I totally woke her up.
Yeah.
I woke you up, huh? Yeah.
You're so cute.
Oh,
I'll love for you, Wanda.
They have to hold you over here so they can see you. Okay, all of these people know you. Thank you very much. I love you so much. Oh, you're such a sweet girl. Yeah.
Yeah, nice slobber.
Kazi can hear me. She wants camera time too. So anyway. Oh, big yawn. All right. Well, I'm going to have to take her out to go potty since I just woke her up. But thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next month. Thanks for reading this. Thanks for letting me go get Wanda to show you. She's a special little girl.
Thanks for hanging out, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.